Oh, hello, artists. I was just writing out my name like the pharaohs from ancient Egypt. Check it out. It's written in an alphabet called hieroglyphs. It was invented a long time ago by the ancient Egyptians. It's actually the very first form of writing ever invented. The ancient Egyptians loved writing things down, so much so that they even invented paper and pens. The ancient Egyptians invented a lot of things that you use every day. Like before you go to school, you brush your teeth with toothpaste and a toothbrush, both invented by the Egyptians. They also invented jobs that your parents may have, like policemen or barbers. They even invented one of my favorite sports, bowling.
I'm throwing rocks tonight. Mark it, dude.
How cool is that? The Egyptians were really cool and really smart. Let's learn more about them in this week's lesson. Today we're going to travel to a part of the world called Egypt. What do you know about Egypt? Maybe the pyramids or pharaohs? Maybe the Sphinx or Cleopatra? Maybe even you've seen the movie Mummy. What kind of art do the Egyptians make? Have you ever seen any examples of Egyptian art before? Maybe you see images like this and this. Let's check out this video to learn more about ancient Egyptian art. Today we're going to be talking about ancient Egyptian art. The ancient Egyptian art ranges in the time period from 3000 BC to about 30 AD. So about 3,000 years, a very long time for an art movement. Ancient Egyptian art covers painting, sculpture, jewelry, and architecture, especially as we know through the pyramids. This is Queen Nefertiti playing a game. And we can see here, this is a cartouche. And she is playing a game of chess, as we can see here. And they actually did have chess back in the ancient Egyptian times. This is a section of the Book of the Dead. One thing that we noticed about this is made on papyrus. Papyrus was made from the reeds on the Nile, and they were crushed down and made into the first paper. So the Egyptians were actually the first civilization to develop paper and develop some writing, which is the hieroglyphs. Here is a couple examples of some full life-size sculptures of a king and queen. Occasionally a king and queen would rule together. And these were not have mummies inside of them. These are actually just sculptures. This is King Tut's mask. This is his death mask. So after the mummy was put on, this was created, they would put this mask on top. And this is actually fully gold. This whole thing is made of solid gold. These are some examples of some wooden tomb models. The purpose of these were not dolls. These were actually supposed to be examples of the slaves and the animals which were used for food for the afterlife. So they would make these and put them inside of the tombs, inside the pyramids with the rulers of the pharaohs after they died, and they would take these to the afterlife with them. This is an example of some earrings, gold. The pharaohs loved gold. Everything that they made, all the jewelry, was made in gold. And we can see that they got very detailed work. This is at the end of the civilization period, and they got very good at crafting very detailed jewelry. Characteristics of ancient Egyptian art is, like we talked about, hieroglyphs. Hieroglyphs are images that they used for writing. By the end of the civilization, these hieroglyphs actually turned into letters. So they did actually have an alphabet a little bit, and you will be practicing writing your name in hieroglyphs. Another thing is people are most often shown in profile with their bodies straight on and their heads sideways. Royalty and religion went hand in hand. The royalty were also the gods and the goddesses in their religion. They were very big on the death and the afterlife. Other characteristics of Egyptian art is papyrus. Here's an example of some papyrus, which is, again, the pressed reeds made from the Nile River. The first paper ever made. But again, the Egyptians were the first ones to ever make paper, and they would put their writing on there. They also had a lot of color that they did in their meaning of their artwork. So gold was obviously with the the pharaohs and the gods. Like green, we think of like grass, so fertility, rebirth. Blue, water, creation. White, we still have pure, and black, death, underworld. We still use a lot of these same colors in art to show some of the same things.
Did you know that before the discovery of the Rosetta Stone, deciphering ancient hieroglyphs was a mystery? Fortunately, today we have the ability to decipher the fascinating inscriptions found on the pyramid walls and ancient papyrus scrolls left behind by the Egyptians. For this week's Studio Time assignment, you'll have the chance to create your own name in hieroglyphs on a clay tablet called the cartouche, just like the ancient Egyptian rulers did. But before you dive in, let's watch a brief video to get you better understanding of the hieroglyphs.
Only important people are taught to read hieroglyphics. So of course, being the high priest, I can read and write. Hieroglyphics means God's words. We carve these words into stone and on sacred structures like temples. It's not an easy task, and it takes the carvers a long time to complete their work. You see, hieroglyphics are picture words, and we have several hundred different ones. What's more, we just don't carve these words into stone, we write them too, and have sacred books like the Book of the Dead, which is written on papyrus, the kind of paper made from plants. To write on papyrus, we use brushes made from reeds, and we use different coloured inks. We use red or black for the words and coloured inks for the pictures. Hieroglyphs can be read vertically or side to side, left to right or right to left. There's a sign at the beginning of each text that tells you which direction to read from. If the sign points up, then read it vertically. If the sign points right, then you should read it right to left. Simple, really.
Towards the end of their civilization, the Egyptians even developed an alphabet using the hieroglyphs. I've included a translation key in your assignments to help you translate the name into hieroglyphs. You also need some clay for this project, we can easily find at most big box stores. If you're on campus, you can also pick some clay up from either of the resource rooms. Feel free to just message or email me and let me know. I'm excited to see your incredible creations.
I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.